Redemption is an accursed celestial satellite orbiting a massive gas giant on the distant coreward fringes of the ragged worlds, where the tempestuous warp storms eternally roil on the horizon of the Koronus Expanse. Redemption, once a sepulchral moon for an obscure and long-extinct cult that followed a deviant interpretation of the God Emperor's doctrine, has recently been declared interdicted by the Ecclesiarchy. The precise nature of this cult's beliefs and the fate of its followers remain shrouded in mystery, either obliterated by the passage of aeons or deliberately expunged by the Imperium's hand. The Inquisition, having decreed their practices to be heretical, ensures their legacy is one of condemnation. Redemption's surface is a sprawling mausoleum, dotted with towering cyclopean tombs and engraved with forbidden reliefs, where monumental necropolises and cryptic monoliths stand as silent sentinels. Colossal cathedrals adorned with intricate frescoes and radiant stained glass exalting the God Emperor rise alongside austere monasteries and expansive, dormant crematoria. The entire surface is sheathed in a strange, glowing marble shot through with silver veins, reflecting the ominous, flickering glow of the warp storms and bathing the moon in the sickly hue of a festering bruise. Beneath the expansive marble boulevards and the multitude of imposing sepulchral structures lies a vast labyrinthine network, spanning thousands of kilometers that burrows deep into the lunar core. These seemingly interminable passageways connect gargantuan ossuaries, each the size of cities, and sprawling subterranean temples. Within these hallowed catacombs, the remains of innumerable dead are meticulously arranged, their resting places marked by what resemble purity seals, and adorned with intricately painted tapestries. In areas devoid of bones or the venerable statues of saints, massive stone vaults, their doors as thick and impenetrable as the armor of a void ship, have been hewn into the living rock. These vaults, locked with esoteric mechanisms crafted from forbidden technologies and sealed with yet more of the cult's sacred purity seals, conceal untold secrets. The nature of their contents remains a mystery, as the Ecclesiarchy, bound by secrecy, offers no revelation of what they have uncovered within. The appeal of redemption, like many desolate worlds scattered across the void, lies not in its barren surface but in the tantalizing promise of immense wealth through the acquisition and sale of its relics. Every rogue trader who holds a charter of exploration harbors at least a cursory interest in the clandestine trafficking of ancient, heretical artifacts from humanity's shadowed past. However, what sets redemption apart is the exceptional nature of its relics whose origins are steeped in heresy and antiquity, exponentially increasing their potential worth. Within the labyrinthine web of the Imperium there are numerous factions, both open and clandestine, who would spare no expense to obtain the hidden knowledge redemption may conceal, or conversely, to ensure its permanent erasure. What truly lies beneath the surface of the moon, buried in its sprawling catacombs, remains an enigma. The Ecclesiarchy's ever-watchful gaze and the impenetrable blockade have successfully deterred any would-be plunderers from unraveling its mysteries. It is rumored that the most ancient crypts within redemption date back to the formative epochs of the Imperium, and perhaps even further, to the time when the Emperor himself led the Great Crusade, striving to reclaim the stars in his name. There are whispers that some of these tombs were constructed to honor the valorous heroes of that forgotten era, and thus may hold relics of great power or treasures of unimaginable value. Yet, such material gains would be insignificant when compared to the incalculable worth of the knowledge that might be uncovered. Secrets regarding the Imperium's earliest days, revelations about the lost explorations of the halo stars, or even profound insights into the Emperor's original intentions for humanity's future, all could lie sealed within the crypts of redemption, waiting to be unearthed. From redemption there lies an outlawed cult that still lingers till this day. The temple tendency represents the fragmented remnants of an ancient and forbidden cult that, in epochs long past, wielded dominion over the entire Imperium. In antiquity, the Temple of the Savior Emperor was among the earliest and most influential sects to deify the Emperor, predating many others in its fervor and reaching unparalleled prominence. Over time, this burgeoning religious faction entrenched itself deeply within the Imperium's fabric, ultimately consolidating its power into the singular institution known as the Ministorum. As this ecclesiastical body swelled with political might and material excess, it became susceptible to corruption, culminating in the ascension of the notorious Goj Vandir. His tyrannical reign, known as the Reign of Blood, plunged the Imperium into a nightmarish civil conflict, fracturing the fragile unity that once bound the galaxy-spanning empire. In the face of this devastation, a formidable coalition emerged, uniting the Adeptus Mechanicus, the mighty Adeptus Astartes, and a reformist religious icon, Sebastian Thor. Their combined efforts led to the eventual overthrow of the Temple of the Savior Emperor, culminating in Vandire's demise, ironically delivered by the very warriors who had sworn to protect him. In the wake of this upheaval, the remnants of the temple scattered into the far reaches of the Imperium, rebranding themselves as the Temple Tendency. To this day, this insidious faction operates in the shadows, striving to undermine the authority of the Ecclesiarchy and seeking to restore themselves as the rightful custodians of imperial faith, positioning themselves as the true bearers of divine truth. There is a forbidden tale about what might lie beneath redemption. This story is based on a fragment of a corrupted video log recovered by a salvage crew, who stumbled upon the derelict ship of Captain Alara Morn near the edge of the Redemption blockade. Other parts of the story are based on rumors and spurious speculation. The ship had been drifting silently for weeks, its systems still operational but its crew mysteriously absent. The log, heavily distorted and filled with static, captured Alara's final transmission, documenting her ill-fated expedition into one of Redemption's sealed vaults. Though much of the footage was lost or scrambled, the salvage crew managed to piece together enough to reveal the haunting events that transpired within the moon's crypts, events so horrific that they defied all explanation and were quickly classified by the Ecclesiarchy. The vault door loomed before them, thick as a void ship's hull, its surface covered in purity seals so old they had fused into the stone. Captain Alara Morn's fingers brushed one, and it crumbled to dust beneath her glove. Her heart quickened as she stepped back, watching as her crew worked to force the ancient mechanisms open. They had traveled across half the galaxy for this, rumors of treasure buried deep within Redemption's crypts, whispers of relics so powerful the Ecclesiarchy had sealed them away, never to be touched by human hands again. With a final groan, the door gave way, revealing a darkness so absolute it seemed to swallow the light of their torches. Alara stepped forward, her breath catching in her throat as her beam illuminated the room beyond. It was vast, far larger than she had imagined, the walls lined with bones arranged in patterns too precise, too deliberate to be random. They formed spirals and curves, beautiful in their precision, as if the dead had been sculpted into art. But at the center of the vault was something far worse. A massive figure stood there, carved from alabaster but more lifelike than any statue. Its form was humanoid but stretched impossibly thin, its arms long and graceful, and its face was no mask. It was bare and luminous, a visage both beautiful and terrible, a blend of perfect symmetry and nightmarish distortion. The eyes, too large and too deep, radiated an ancient knowledge, their gaze impossible to hold. Its lips, full and sculpted, seemed to curve in a smile, but the smile was wrong, twisted in a way that sent shivers down Alara's spine. It was a face too flawless to be human, yet too horrific to be divine, something that defied understanding and yet demanded worship. Her breath caught not in fear but in the sublime. The figure was terrible, yes, but there was something inspiring in its stillness, in the way it commanded the space around it. It was both grotesque and divine, a mockery of life so perfect it felt holy. Her crew stood transfixed, their faces slack with wonder, as though they had forgotten why they had come. Alara stepped closer, drawn by the figure's light, unable to resist its pull. The closer she got, the more she could feel it, the sense of something ancient and unknowable, a presence that seeped into her mind like a whisper. Images flickered at the edges of her vision, half-formed memories of things she had never seen, worlds burning, stars collapsing, the universe itself unraveling. It was beautiful in its horror, a symphony of destruction and rebirth played out in the span of a heartbeat. Then she realized the figure was not carved. It was alive, and its face once still twitched slightly, and in that moment Alara saw. The tendrils of light coiled around her crew, their eyes wide with silent terror as their bodies dissolved into the same delicate spirals of bone that adorned the walls. There were no screams, no struggle, just the slow, deliberate unraveling of flesh into something more, something perfect. Alara wanted to turn away to run, but the figure's gaze held her fast. She understood now. This was bones of redemption, something ancient, vast and unspeakable but exquisitely eternal. The figure's radiant face seemed to soften as it regarded her, not with malice, but with a calmness that was terrifying in its serenity. Alara felt her body trembling, but not with fear. There was no fear left, only the overwhelming sensation of being unmade and remade at once. She could feel her mind unraveling, memories and thoughts scattering like leaves in a storm, swept into the spiraling patterns that adorned the walls. The light from the figure grew, and she saw with sudden clarity the bones that lined the vault were not just remnants of the dead. They were the final, perfected forms of countless souls who had entered this place before her. They had not been killed. They had been transformed, reshaped into something greater, something pure, woven into the intricate design of the universe itself. As the tendrils of light reached her, Elara welcomed them. Her body felt weightless, her thoughts melting away like wax under flame, until all that was left was the undeniable beauty of surrender. The figure's face, that hauntingly perfect visage, was the last thing she saw as her form began to dissolve, her very essence being drawn into the vault's endless harmony. But even as she slipped away, something lingered, an echo, a fragment of herself still tethered to reality. And in that final moment of clarity, she realized the terrible truth: this figure was not a god, not salvation, but a force older than time, trapped and waiting to consume everything it touched, reshaping it in its horrific image of perfection. Redemption wasn't just a tomb for the dead, it was a prison for something far worse. As her consciousness faded into the vast, swirling patterns, Elara knew that soon others would come, drawn by the same promises of wealth and power. And they too would stand before the figure's terrible beauty, and they too would become part of the ever-growing, ever-beautiful nightmare that lay hidden beneath redemption's surface. And the vault, now sealed, waited once more in perfect silence, patient and eternal. Redemption is not merely a moon, it is a cosmic trap, a place where ancient horrors lurk beneath the surface, waiting in patient silence for those foolish or desperate enough to seek its forbidden secrets. The vast catacombs and sealed vaults hold not treasures or relics, but an ancient, unknowable force that twists all who enter into something beyond death, beautiful and horrific in equal measure. What was once a place of forgotten history has become a prison for something older than humanity, a nightmare that remakes those who enter its embrace into its own twisted perfection. In the end, redemption is not a place of salvation, but of eternal, silent consumption, where all who enter become part of its haunting and inescapable symphony.